Regina, are you sure you want to serve eviction notices to the entire town right before Christmas?
Don't I look like I'm sure?
The marching does kind of give it away. Well, if I may.
Welcome back to Vox Popcast, the weekly pseudo-academic roundtable of pop culture analysis with drinking and swearing. My name is Christopher Maverick, but you can call me Mav, and I am once again here with my co-host, palindrome Hannah Rogers. How's it going, Hannah?
I think I found the Christmas spirit because I watched so many Hallmark-esque Christmas movies. I don't think I have a choice now.
Hallmark-esque. Hallmark-esque. Yeah. I've been watching some myself. I could just be macho and be like, yeah, just because I'm going to watch the show. But no, I watch stupid, goofy Christmas movies too. So we did this show before, kind of.
Well, yeah, but things change, people change. Hallmark movies do change, apparently, a little bit.
A little bit, and then not at all. And then I have so many thoughts.
So we're just going to, I guess, keep doing this every couple of years until...
So this is a sequel to our cheesy Christmas movies special from 2 years ago. Regular listeners will notice that neither Katya or Wayne are here because it is literally impossible for them to care less about this topic than they do, because they're a couple of Grinches and sad and broken inside. So,
I was a Grinch about Thanksgiving, so
True. But anyway, so you brought guests.
I did bring guests. So if you remember, longtime listeners from 2 years ago, I somehow convinced my sister to be on the show and she didn't hate it. So she's back again. So, hey, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Merry Christmas or Thanksgiving or time. I don't know. Listen to our last show where we talk about the weirdness of the winter holidays. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today.
Happy fake March.
Yes.
And Mary also brought someone with her into this virtual space. So returning guest.
My husband, Charlie.
Hello. Hey, Charlie. Welcome back. You weren't on the last cheesy Christmas special, but you've been on the show before. So welcome back.
Thank you so much.
And also because apparently this is just... Oh, is that Winnie?
Yeah, yes. That's Winnie.
Winnie also says hello, apparently.
She loves
Winnie
Christmas movies.
Oh, wonderful.
And also because I just decided that my whole family should be on the show, I brought Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
Josh,
good to be back.
Welcome back. I have to thank you. I have to thank Josh in particular. And we'll get to more specifics later on in the episode. But the way this episode came about is Hannah said she wanted to do this again. And obviously, like I said, Wayne and Katya were not going to watch any Christmas movies because they're horrible people. Hey, guys. But I was willing to watch them. She was willing to watch them. She said she was going to make you watch them. And then you were taking turns, apparently. And she texts me and she says, well, Josh picked the Dolly Parton Christmas movie next. So I'm going to watch that next. And I said, OK, I'll watch it later tonight. And I have to thank you, Josh, for bringing Dolly Parton's Christmas at the Square into my life. I love this movie. This is the greatest movie.
It's such a roller coaster of a movie.
It's so messed up. It's like the most messed up of all of these films we're going to talk about today. And there's some really messed up movies.
I see. OK,
I say this as a Dolly Parton fan, too. It's
like, I feel like I can't critique Dolly Parton. We shouldn't. But
that's exactly. And again, I don't want to get into the plot yet. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this episode for movies that a lot of our listeners are never going to try to watch, but you should. But without spoiling Christmas at the Square yet, it is screwy and fucked up and weird. And as I was watching it, I was like, this is bizarre. I don't know if I like this. And then once it was over, I was just thinking, well, Dolly Parton made this, and so she must like it. So clearly my idea of what's good and not was wrong. So I had to like reevaluate myself. And now I'm ready to dedicate the rest of this show tonight and all future episodes, my entire academic career, and perhaps the rest of my life to just analyzing this one film, the greatest piece of literature ever devised. There are so many layers. I have so many thoughts.
It's such a good thing we're doing a musical episode and a Christmas Carol episode.
Yeah. There's so much going on, and we'll get to it later. But it's just I was just watching, and then Stephanie came in like she came in at the very beginning, like 1 minute in. And then she's like, is this all a musical? And I was like, I don't know. Josh said we had to watch it. She's like, all right. So she sat down, and then she's like, this is bad. And then she started doing something else, and then like on her computer. And then I looked over, and she wasn't on her computer anymore. She was just looking at, we were mesmerized. That was an event to just watch that and absorb.
I truly think that in 50 years, this will be appraised with the best of Ed Wood's films.
Maybe next to Tolstoy. I don't know. It was something.
Before we get to what a cheesy Christmas movie is, because I think we should start there, I do have to say for Mary and Charlie and listeners who are like, what is this? It stars Christine Baranski of Mamma Mia fame, and I know she does other things, but will always be her biggest role will be Mamma Mia for me. And Dolly Parton appears and like wrote all the songs, and it's just. But
we should do it last because I want to I want to evaluate that. Again. This movie's going to be with us for years, if not decades. So I want to evaluate it tonight in context of the other cheesy Christmas movies that we're going to watch. So we should talk about all the other ones first, because we watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, especially me, who had better things to do with her time probably, but chose not to. So what is a cheesy Christmas movie? What are some of the tropes? Just like name them. Go.
I have trouble with it. What do you guys think?
Well, there's always a family.
See, and that's kind of okay. So for me, when we first came up with this 2 years ago, my idea of the cheesy Christmas movie was just, it was the one that was on, Mary, you were there. It was like the one that was on Lifetime. There's a couple who falls in love, arguing over a Christmas tree. They probably both have dogs. It's a extremely low stakes and formulaic rom-com, and you have to magically end up together at the end because Christmas and the power of Christmas and love or something. It's very vague, and you're not supposed to think. You're just supposed to feel good watching. There's probably a ridiculously simple argument that could have been solved with a 10-second conversation that breaks them up for like 5-10 minutes in the middle of the movie. But other than that, Christmas saves the day, and everybody gets to feel warm and fuzzy at the end. That's cheesy Christmas movie to me. Yeah,
yes, but also sometimes they're so like nice that there isn't even a miscommunication to break up over. Like this is like what we're looking at. Like there's always a family. There's usually a couple, and then there's a lot of time devoted toward nice people doing nice things for other people just because they're nice.
Because Christmas, yes.
Because Christmas.
You're forgetting the snow scene. The scene where the snow magically appears and makes everything better.
Oh, probably near a gazebo.
Yes.
Yeah, the gazebo is actually extremely important. You're not going to mention the carousels?
There are two carousel Christmas movies this year.
Josh is just very interested in this fact. Oh, and there's sometimes time travel.
Usually a royal family makes an appearance.
There's been an increasing amount of time travel. Royal families, probably one of the people is like very well-to-do and rich, if not actual royalty, and the other person is, more not necessarily down on their luck. They're like a baker with a heart of gold, or an innkeeper with a heart of gold, or perhaps a carpenter with a heart of gold. It's just very, very simple, down to earth, regular people jobs.
Oh, also there is always a baking scene or like a hot cocoa scene.
Mm-hmm. And there's a ridiculously cute kid whose job it is to just be cute and like say insightful things. Bonus points if the kid is handicapped, like Tiny Tim.
Yes.
So a lot of tropes. Charlie, yes. Mary, any we missed?
I think that covers them. Maybe like a special surprise gift that you get before Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Which may or may not be magic. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We can't also have to remember the oddball Christmas films like Die Hard.
No, that's not what this episode is about. No, that's not. Don't take our arguments into
they
the
reinvent
public.
the genre.
We aren't, but that's the thing. We're not talking about.
Where are the bombs?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you for
He's never
derailing
seen
this.
Die Hard.
Gee, thanks, Mary. Just throw that out there.
I've never seen Die Hard. Also, I've seen all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so I don't need to see Die Hard.
Exactly.
Already
Right.
told me.
You're so wrong. Die Hard's so good, but no, but different. Yeah, it's related, but different kind of Christmas movie. Arguably a better kind of Christmas movie, but not as heartwarming.
No.
I watched a lot of crappy movies this weekend. I watched a lot of really garbage movies.
Let's begin with last year's starring film, The Night Before Christmas, which for those of you who have not watched is literally about a time traveling knight who is very nice. And honestly, I think they were kind of going for like the Lancelot thing minus the, whole like adultery thing. And he gets sent into the future by an old crone, which he repeatedly calls her an old crone, and it's very amusing.
I say, old crone.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, so he gets sent into the future where he meets Vanessa Hudgens, who is only playing one character this time, who has been cheated on by her boyfriend and doesn't believe in like true love anymore, but by being kind and baking bread with her with King Arthur flour, literally in the movie, she learns to love again after like 48 hours with him, and he learns that the true quest is love, and then a bunch of nice things happen and not very much action unless you count like him stopping a pickpocket.
Well, no, actually, I thought there was a surprising amount of action for a cheesy Christmas movie. I mean,
sure.
Sir Cole saves the damsel in distress.
Saves the damsel in distress. He stops a pickpocket. He risks his life on a frozen river that was there all of a sudden.
Summons the old crone repeatedly.
Yeah. There was a lot of this was a fair amount of. I mean, it's not Die Hard. It's not Star Wars. It's not that kind of movie. It's certainly not an action movie. But for most of these films, which for the most part film clearly in 1 week on the same set.
In Toronto.
Yeah. I mean, it was surprisingly ambitious, I thought.
Well, Charlie, you're the closest to the time period of study of all of us. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking that I'm going to be honest. It's been a year since I've seen this one.
You mean you didn't rewatch?
I didn't rewatch it. And I think it really goes back to our sort of trope conversation at the beginning here, because all I could remember was old crone. That is all that stuck with me. I remember laughing. I remember enjoying it moderately. I remember laughing out loud when he called people old crone over and over. And that's the impression that movie left on me. In fact, I almost get it a little bit confused with the Princess Switch one.
See, and I find that amazing because you did have like sort of a disparaging sigh when we got to and starring Vanessa Hudgens, the current queen of Christmas movies, at least as far as Netflix is concerned.
Well, Netflix is letting her produce some of them. So.
As we discussed, I believe on the previous episode, there are certain actresses who have just taken it upon themselves to build their entire career starring in Christmas films. Danica McKellar, my girlfriend, is one of them. And also Alison Sweeney of Days of Our Lives. She does a bunch of them, usually with baking. And now it appears Vanessa Hudgens is going in that direction.
So let me just be clear about my disparaging sigh about Vanessa Hudgens. It's not Vanessa Hudgens. Who doesn't like High School Musical? I love Gabriela Montez. I grew up like almost sort of in love with Gabriela Montez.
Josh is a little too old for this.
I'm way too old for this.
Oh, well, there we go. I'm dating myself. But it's the Princess Switch. It's the horrible accents and just the cringeworthy accents that kill.
She sounds just like everybody from Aldovia or wherever she's from.
They're not the worst accents I've ever heard, first of all. Secondly, what is a Christmas movie without a bad accent?
you don't like that movie, then Princess Switch 2 this year features 33% more Vanessa Hudgens.
Yes, and it was great.
Well, and that's the one that really got me. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay, fine. I guess we've moved on from the greatest movie ever, The Night Before Christmas.
Well, hold on. Okay, well, why is Night Before Christmas superior to Princess Switch franchise? And then we can sort of segue the conversation. How about that?
Okay, fine. Well, one, the greatest pun to ever be made has been made. And two, it's just nice people doing nice things for each other. Like, even like the villain, the mean kind of girl next door, and she realizes that Sir Cole is like super into Vanessa Hudgens' character. She's like, oh yeah, you should use mistletoe on someone where it means something. And it's just nice. It's just nice. It's just like a nice break, you know, like the world is full of people who like won't even wear masks right now. And you know what? Everybody in that town would wear a mask. You just know.
I agree. And I'm not going to say I didn't like that. I liked the movie, by the way. I did enjoy the movie. It was nice and sweet. I don't know that I could recommend it to people. It is a movie that doesn't lack plot. It does have a plot. It almost entirely lacks conflict. Like the conflict is he's not sure how to get home, but it's immediately evident that he will get home. Like literally from the first scene, it's like, I'm sending you on a quest. If you figure out the quest, you can come back home. And it's like true love. The quest is true love. This quest is obviously true love.
Yeah, that is why these movies were made for this time. This is like their moment shine, like quite literally. Okay, we can move on.
To your point, Mav, it felt like a hokier Enchanted.
Okay.
A hokier Christmas Enchanted without the fun music.
And Patrick Dempsey.
Okay, Patrick Dempsey's not as great as a nameless actor who is confused by Alexa. And also, Idina Menzel doesn't get to sing in Enchanted, and that's very disappointing to some of us.
True.
Yes. Also, if you're looking for the Enchanted ripoff, Google Godmother, the trailer for Disney Plus.
I haven't.
Anyway.
But anyway, okay, so. But Vanessa Hudgens, this is her secondary franchise, it appears, because clearly Night Before Christmas sets up a sequel in the final scene.
Yeah.
Like, so, because that's the world that Netflix has taken us to, where we are franchising these movies. So now we talked about Princess Switch on our episode 2 years ago, and I thought it was delightful.
It's delightful.
Mm-hmm. So now we have Princess Switch 2 switched again.
It was even
so delightful.
No.
Mary, you gave the Princess Switch on our last episode 11 out of 10. What do you give the Princess to?
Okay. Oh, that's tough. I think this one might get a 9 out of 10.
9?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely thought Princess Switch 1 was better.
Why?
Because I feel like with Princess Switch 2, like, you know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like Princess Switch 1, it was like, oh my gosh, how is this all going to work out? How is this all going to tie together? But like, I knew that Baker Man and Margaret, what's his name?
It's Kevin, but I like Baker Man. Baker Man's fine.
Kevin and Margaret were obviously still in love and we're going to end up together.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you can say that about any of these movies that you kind of will, you know, that will be okay. Like, we'll get to this movie in a bit, but The Christmas House, there's a plot line where an actor is torn between his job and like saving the TV show and the love of his life with who he's got a second chance. And Josh was like, wait, he's going to abandon his cast and crew. I was like, nah, they're going to move the show to New York so he'll be able to have both of them once. And guess what? It did.
They moved the entire, so he uprooted like 1,000 people from their lives and families so that he could go get laid.
But it's Hallmark, you know, it's Hallmark. But anyway, back to for the Princess Switch 2, I actually liked it better because I thought it was like an actual attempt at non-dramatically having people be in adult relationships and show some of the problems with like long distance, and also like marriage isn't just happily ever after. And also, unlike the Christmas Prince franchise, which is also a Netflix bit, which went from the first movie to Royal Wedding to Royal Baby, like the Princess Switch like franchise doesn't just jump to Stacy and Edward suddenly just like having a kid. They're like navigating how to balance their responsibilities and work with being a couple, which I think, despite not being, you know, royalty, a lot of people have to figure out once they're together.
Okay, I will agree with you. So here was my thing. When we asked Mary, you said 9 out of 10. And I think I don't know that I'd give either of them 11 out of 10. I think that I agree with her in that I think Princess Switch 1 for me was a better movie. It had more of a story. It was more engaging. Like stuff happened that, as unbelievable as it was, made sense. Princess Switch 2 had far more character development, and I found I was more engaged in them as people. The plot of Princess Switch 2 is farcical and ridiculous because my main problem with Princess Switch 2 is the Vanessa Hudgens. I should use Stacy, the American princess, right? She doesn't tell her husband, the prince, that they're switching places again. They tell everybody else in the movie, but they don't tell him because if they did tell him, then there'd be no confusion and the movie couldn't happen. That's like the reason.
But he doesn't get mad about it.
Right.
Which is a nice change of pace, actually. I mean, like, maybe he should be a little mad about it, but maybe not, given the circumstances of finding out how they switch. So maybe not. But it's a nice change of pace from, like, Grey's Anatomy, where it's like,
sure,
I want to kill you because the writers said so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that they had marital problems. I like that that the other couple had relationship problems. I like that they were working through things. And I mean, marital problems, and I make it sound like it's horrible. They're just, they're a new couple who's been married for a year and they're working shit out, and like, it's like, oh, the honeymoon period's over and maybe we don't have as much time for each other as we thought. And, like, I'm fine with that. Like, that was actually interesting to see. I wish there was a plot that didn't rely on just massive stupidity for, like, I'm okay with the kidnapping plot. Was interesting, right? There's a whole kidnapping plot because there's a third switch going on, and that's like fine. It was goofy, but it was fine. I didn't like that the entire reason that she doesn't tell him is because she's like, she never explains it. And then she was like, well, you'd be mad, but he wasn't. And I don't know why you think that. And it was just like, just say, look, our friends are having problems, because they didn't need to switch places. They just needed to, I'm going to pretend to be her so that, they can get some alone time. And that's a 2-second conversation. And he'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. So that didn't happen. And I get that it didn't happen because the plot needed to happen. But like that said, write a better plot then. But I was far more engaged in the characters. So I'm torn as to which one I liked better.
Oh, I'm not torn at all.
Really? Okay, Charlie, you can say your piece.
The sequel is like maybe a 3 out of 10. The Princess Switch 2.
Get out of here.
Well, for one, what Mav was saying was totally right. And then in that scene where he's like, I want to talk to you about my relationship with my wife, and he's talking to his wife, but he doesn't know that he's talking to his wife. That's a great
spot. She could just say so.
For her to be like, wait, it's actually me. And you can like have that conversation then, instead of let's drag this out for like the rest of the day and let me get kidnapped and all this. But really, that's secondary as far as I'm concerned. The worst thing about this movie is that it felt like it was just a gimmick. Let's see how many Vanessa Hudgenses we can get on the screen at one time. I'm just waiting for the Princess Switch 3 when there are going to be 5 of them, and 4 of them have horrible British accents.
She said no, but she also joked yes at one. Like, we don't know. And there's going to be more because, well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to Mav's grand theory.
Not a grand theory. I'm positive. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, by grand, I didn't mean like grand as in okay. I meant like grand as in it's like a thing that's happening. So, but I think that like I have this theory that Netflix released the Christmas Inheritance, which is like literally the most compulsive, like heterosexual, like small town.
It was very formulaic.
You must go back to. It's not just the formula. It's like it follows the formula to the point that like it's really toxic. Josh, do you remember watching this and like booing the 2 men she's supposed to choose between because they're both mean to her when she's super nice, and like they mistreat her as if she's like some selfish girl who needs to like learn her lesson because that's what the plot dictates, even though the character doesn't fit the plot?
Definitely.
I have this theory that movie, they were like, oh, we got to do something more. And like, maybe it's like not enough for Charlie, but the Princess Switch 2 is enough for me. And I will say, having watched Royal Baby for this podcast. And that truly was like too much for me. I thought I was texting Mav and I was like, I hate this so much. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I will say it was a better movie than I thought it was going to be, but my opinion of it was so low for like all the reasons that they threw in some conversations about being scared to like parent, where like guys like talk to each other positively and women talk to each other positively. Like the bar was so low at that point. I was like, oh, well, this is nice, I guess.
So I'm going to admit, A Christmas Prince 3 Royal Baby, I've not watched yet. I watched the first two and I want to like them, but I don't care about anybody. I don't care about anybody at all. Them. I think you're right on Christmas Inheritance. And yet Christmas Inheritance is a better movie because the people from Christmas Prince are not on screen. They're the most bland, formulaic. It's like, yes, I get it. You're in love with a prince. And then why is this a problem already? And okay, I guess, but is it really a problem for 3 fucking movies? Get over yourself. Like, it's just like there's so much, there's just so much going on there that it's just, and I tired of them very, very quickly, except now I am ridiculously excited about it because I don't need to go and just, I know most of our listeners aren't going to watch most of these films, though you should, because they are delightful and they make you smile. This is one you can skip, but you do need,
you can skip it.
Or actually, this is 3 of them that you can skip, but you do need to be aware of them because you need to understand who the Christmas Prince people are for when they show up to join the Avengers Initiative and fight Thanos. And no, I did not just randomly go to another movie. That's apparently happening.
Because at the end of The Princess Switch 2, the characters from the Christmas Prince franchise make an appearance at a coronation. And yeah, it's setting up some crossover potential, which people on the internet have joked about for years about Hallmark forming an Avengers Initiative.
Well, but this is Netflix is going for it. Because it's not only that.
Gonna do it first.
Also, let's see. The people in Christmas Inheritance refer to them. The people in what else did I watch? What was the Christmas Calendar? They were like, there's lots of little references to these 2 countries. It's in Night Before Christmas as well. Her acorn ornaments and stuff come from Moldova. Their mother brought them back during a trip there. So clearly Vanessa Hudgens' other character from Night Before Christmas also exists in the same universe as the Princess Switch. So, and since he's the only one who can fight, I assume they're going to need him when they fight Thanos. So I feel
there you go, Charlie. There are 4 Vanessa Hudgenses.
Oh,
yes,
no.
That's it. Yes, there are at least 4.
2 are American. At least 2 aren't having the cringe accent.
Yes, there are at least 4 Vanessa Hudgens in this universe. And like I have so many questions, and that I am there for, because like seriously, Princess Switch 2 all but ends with Nick Fury coming out and saying, let's join the Avengers Initiative. And then especially because Night Before Christmas also ends with sequel bait. Like I see where they're going, and they're just, they did it slowly and subtly. and I don't know that they're going to get like the Christmas Inheritance people back.
Please don't.
They could probably get the Christmas Calendar people back. I didn't love that movie either. That movie, Christmas Calendar, was like, okay, these bland, the more bland of these movies, we can do one with black people too. Diversity. Like there's no, it's just like, all right. I mean, it's fine, but but like the innovative thing about it is just that it's not an all white cast, which I appreciate, but the movie is frankly really boring and
yeah.
But there's a lot of, but magic exists in this world. And so you can have multiple Vanessa Hudgens all over the place.
But and part of the thing we talked about in our original show was that Hallmark movies are famous for not only repeating the same plots, but casting the same actors who all are like extremely white and play extremely straight characters. And at the time it was like, but is there actually like a happy Christmas film that features, and at the time I believe Christmas Calendar was out, and some other films that featured non-white people besides Vanessa Hudgens. So like, that was starting to change, but was there like an LGBTQ couple on screen?
Not yet, but there is now.
There are multiple movies that feature.
Well, yeah, and one of them's good. I mean, like one of them.
Excuse me. I enjoyed The Christmas House, and since nobody else watched it, I will just explain it for like 10 seconds. It's about a family, and the parents are going through a change in their lives because they're retired and trying to figure out what to do. There's the son who I mentioned who acts in LA, and his show might get canceled, and he reunites with his like childhood sweetheart and tries to like see where he fits into her life. And then the third plot line is there is a gay couple who is one of whom is the brother of the TV actor, and they are waiting for a call about whether or not their adoption will be finalized. So it's a very sweet film. Like nothing real bad happens. It's like all happy. There are conversations that feel like they're like two conversations that actually feel like real humans are having them, trying to work through their emotions. They get to bring a baby home for Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, I cried, I teared up. It was a happy, like problem-free movie that like if you want to escape, you can escape. So they're still mostly white cast, but it's Hallmark. So, but there is also the movie everyone else watched, which is
Happiest Season. I liked it. I think I liked it a lot. Okay, so here's
complicated.
Here's where we're getting into this show thus far, and I kind of wonder if people are sticking with the show or if they just gave up when they realized what we were going to talk about, because like we sort of are saving the more interesting films for later on. Like the earlier films are very simple and simplistic. I like where they went with this because unlike, and it's called the holiday calendar. I called it the Christmas calendar. I was wrong. It's called the holiday calendar, which is essentially the same formulaic rom-com, but with black people instead of white people, except for the token white mom. Like, just, I guess she's actually biracial because the mother is played by a white actress, and it's never acknowledged at all because in happy Christmas land cities, like no racism doesn't exist. Everyone's just happy. There's no sexism. There's no racism. It's just yay. And which is fine. But that movie, they really just recycled. I mean, that plot could have been anybody. It's like, yeah, I've got my regular job of being a photographer and I'm trapped between two boys and I've got to get my career going and Christmas spirit and magic. So everything works out in the end. That's holiday calendar. And then we have the Hulu film, The Happiest Season, which is what happens if we make a frankly, kind of delightful holiday Christmas movie, but we make the characters gay. We're just going to make this the story of a couple of lesbians. And I liked it. I have issues with the end, and we'll get to that. But not the issues the internet mostly seems to have with the end. For the plot, basically, a woman decides to take her girlfriend home for Christmas, and the girlfriend's thinking, this is my perfect chance to propose. Only halfway to her parents' house, she says, by the way, my parents don't know I'm a lesbian, so let's keep this on the down low. And it's like, well, couldn't you told me this before we get in the car? Yeah, I probably should have, but we're here. Hi, mom and dad. And that's how the movie starts. And then they have to like sort of, how do you deal with dating? So it's like you're trying to negotiate Christmas, but also how do you deal with dating somebody who's not out? And so one of the complaints that I saw from a lot of people was why does every gay romance need to be about coming out of the closet? We have other stories, and I agree. I do agree with that. But I don't think this is a movie it was written by a lesbian and directed by, but I don't think this is a movie about gay romance so much as it's a movie about repressed people learning to accept the gay people in their life. So I think it's a movie for straight people is what I'm saying. Does anybody agree or disagree?
I definitely think that there were, if not written entirely for straight people in some ways, there are definitely scenes where I felt like the movie was like purposefully explaining things to people who might not understand because they've never had to experience, the same situations as the main characters.
Yeah.
This is complicated, like the film, because and for the record, I think that a lot of people who responded to the question about why does every movie have to be about coming out, a lot of people are like, well, it's still really relevant in 2020. Right. A lot of people still have hard times, and The Christmas House, for the record, is not about coming out. If you're looking for a plot line that is about something a little different. But I really like this actually was supposed to come out in theaters, but COVID. You can tell it. I kind of thought that. I mean, you can tell
it was filmed for more. It was filmed for more than $72.57, which is the budget of most of these films.
I will say that Kristen Stewart and Aubrey Plaza were absolutely delightful. I thought like the first 15 minutes were great, and like I as I was watching the film, I once again texted Mav because apparently you've by default become my like Christmas movie buddy. That they say the words heteronormativity and patriarchy in the first 10 minutes. So like
easily,
they know what the genre is and like what they're speaking to. And I actually felt like this movie was a lot like Meet the Parents.
Yes.
Because Meet the Parents, for those of you who don't remember that movie, which is very much a holiday film as well, Ben Stiller goes home with his girlfriend, hoping to propose. And then a series of things like go wrong, and the father is very stern, played by Robert De Niro, is a secret CIA agent who does not like Greg and will not give him a chance. And there's a delightful cat named Jinx, which I will say is the best part of the film. And then, like, you know, eventually things work out. But I think there were a lot of reasons that this film was just kind of more depressing than maybe you're looking for if you're looking for a straight up happy holiday film.
Because it's not a straight up happy holiday film. Like you said, it was supposed to come out in theaters, and it's not. It's got funny moments, but it's meant to be a romance, not it wasn't meant for thoughtless, feel good Netflix Hallmark holiday movie. That just happened because of COVID, right? So I liked it a lot. Before we get to the scene that everyone's talking about, I'm just curious from our guests, what did you guys like it? Or because Hannah and I are gonna approach it like snobby lit nerds, because that's what we do.
I mean, Charlie's also a snobby lit nerd.
That's true. Charlie, did you like it, or did you feel the same way?
I don't know. The thing I didn't really like about it is that, in lots of these movies, you sort of feel like there's a relationship there, and you like watch people grow into their relationships, and it didn't feel like it was an equal relationship here. It felt like we should come back to that, because I think that's I think you're gonna end up having the same problem with the ending that I did.
Mary, just general thoughts.
Okay. As like a movie viewing experience, I was like, okay, that was fine. That, I'm not mad that I spent an hour and 40 minutes watching this. But I personally, it's kind of the same thing with Charlie. It's like, bam, here are, here's your couple. Here's a huge issue, aka one person in the couple lying to the other for essentially months, right? And then revealing that she's lied when the other person is trapped and has essentially no other option except to go along with this lie. And then putting your partner in repeatedly terrible situation. Like, I just had a huge issue with their relationship.
I was just going to say that to back up your point, there's a scene in the middle of the movie where Harper, the girlfriend who's taking Kristen Stewart home,
played by Mackenzie Davis, by the way, who is great. Yeah. She's really good. And for people who don't know Mackenzie Davis, probably her most famous role before this was that she starred in the Terminator movie from last year that nobody saw.
But yeah, so they go out with some friends, and Abby, Kristen Stewart's character, is invited. And once she gets there, Harper just straight up ignores her. And let me just say, I have taken friends home for like our annual art festival. Josh has come home with me numerous times, both when we were friends and now when we're dating. And at times when we were there, I went out and saw friends, and I would take those other friends with me. But never did I ignore the people I cared about that were visiting who didn't know anyone. Like, I made sure they were comfortable, because that's just like the basic bare minimum. And it was just like repeated. I think that like maybe this is like what annoyed everybody. And Josh, you can jump in.
Yeah, I want to hear what Josh says too, because before just in case he actually liked the movie.
But like there's just repeated like little mean things from the family, from Harper, and it was like, but why should we like see any like redemptive qualities in these people besides Abby and Riley? I liked them. Continue, Josh.
Oh, well, I would just say that I enjoyed the movie more than the usual. Christmas movie. It was trying to say something interesting. Has a great cast. I mean, to Hannah's point about the family being kind of irredeemable, I mean, it's kind of, they're all kind of terrible people. That seem.
Jane's okay.
Oh yeah, Jane is a delight. But like they mistreat her. Like she's their daughter. They gave up on Jane because she's like socially awkward, even though
she was 5. They gave up on her when she was 5. They say so.
Like they're rude to like Abby as a guest. It doesn't matter if she's a significant other or not. Like they're just straight up rude to her. They they keep like trying to push Harper with her like ex.
Okay. So that was my problem. My problem, and I understand, Nessie, I'm not a lesbian coming out or having come out. So I get why it might be annoying to people to see that story over and over again who want a new story. My problem with it had nothing to do with them being gay. My problem with the movie had to do with fuck you, Harper. OK, like I understand that in real life, relationships are complicated and people will have fights. And I even liked the fight. I thought so. Clea Duvall, who wrote and directed it, along with Mary Holland, who plays Jane, they wrote it together. Clea Duvall directed it. And Clea says that this is based on real experiences in her life. And she wanted to have. So, OK, again, spoilers for the end scene, not the end scene, but towards the end, because Harper cannot admit that she's a lesbian and because everyone in the film is awful, in a plea for her parents' attention and love, her sister outs her at a massive party. Her dad's running for like Congress or something or mayor. I don't remember. Mayor. Okay. Yeah. Mayor. And
Harper is begging, like she's crying, begging for her sister to not do this.
And her sister outs her. And then Harper, rather than acknowledging, she lies and she says, I am. So the sister outs her and says, the sister played by Alison Brie, who's also great in this film, says Harper's a lesbian, as Abby is her lover. How do you like that? And faced in this, this massive crisis moment, Harper says, no, I'm not. We're just friends. This devastates Abby. Abby leaves. I love that scene. And
that's great.
And I understand.
What follows,
and I understand why. And it leads to a scene where Dan Levy, who plays Abby's male best friend, has to explain to her. He says, what was it like when you came out? And she said, my parents were very supportive. And he's like, mine weren't. I didn't talk to them for years after that. Everybody's story is different. And she wasn't ready yet. And he really breaks down the theme of the movie and just says, look, it's like what she did to you was awful, but you have to understand what she's going through, too. And I felt bad for her in that moment. What I didn't like was because then the movie's over and they just get back together. And I do believe that in a real relationship, given 6 months of begging and really hard work, maybe things can be all right for this couple. But given that I just watched Harper and her entire family be complete and total assholes for 80 minutes, I don't need to see them get back together in a 2-minute conversation. I just don't buy it. And it irritated me because I was like, I don't like you. I don't like anybody in this movie except for Riley, Jane, and Abby. And I think some other people say, well, why don't Abby and Riley get together? And I'm like, because people can be just friends. And that's great. I love that they didn't just have to hook up because they were also lesbians. I like that Abby and Riley didn't end up together. I just didn't want her to end up with Harper unless I needed 15 minutes or something. There just wasn't anything there because I didn't feel like she earned it or learned anything.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mav. Like it was just Harper manipulating Abby the entire time, I felt, through the very end. Mm-hmm. And if I were Abby, I would be like, I'm getting in the car with Dan Levy. You can call me in a week and maybe we can talk about this.
Yes.
Well, we're also, we haven't talked about the very, very end, which is Harper and Abby go back. And then suddenly
it's a Christmas miracle.
The entire family has changed. And I mean, like, I'm not saying you should. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying you shouldn't forgive people. And I'm not saying people can't change. I'm saying that your sister just maliciously outed you and suddenly it's fine.
And your sister maliciously outed you because her husband, she and her husband have broken up and they are, they're working on, or they're not actually working on their relationship anymore. She's bitter because her marriage is broken apart and nobody knows. And he has a girlfriend now and they, she was in a bad place, but then they're all suddenly okay. Basically, Christmas morning, there's a Christmas miracle, and everyone's just wonderful.
Yeah, like the parents who and you have to understand the parents are so terrible in this that the motivation we're given for the sisters trying to torture each other is because their parents have pitted them against each other to be perfect their entire lives. And it takes them...
And that's not their imagination.
Yeah.
The parents say so.
Yeah.
The parents basically acknowledge that's what they've been doing.
And it takes them 20 seconds to flip. And I think that, the reason why, it's like Meet the Parents can flip the switch because there are redeemable qualities in the characters. And the only person who's really a jerk is Robert De Niro, and Ben Stiller just kind of has the worst luck in the world. But that's not this movie. Yeah.
Well, and I think for all the other movies we've talked about so far, like there's the plot of all the Princess Switch movies, all the Christmas Prince, these movies are ridiculous and I actually think delightful in their ridiculousness, and therefore the bar is lower.
Yes. And like that I think, this one tackles very serious topics and doesn't stick the landing, to say the least, in how certain very serious issues are handled, which is why I think we're being far more critical of this than, The Night Before Christmas is the best movie ever. 12 out of 10.
It's just when you try to be that realistic and when you try to be that dramatic, you just have to, the rules are different. Like to earn it, to get there, the ending of this film belonged in a Netflix or Hallmark movie. It didn't belong. It didn't belong in the movie that they gave it to. They gave it to us in.
Yeah, it felt sort of like the plays that I read, like Shakespeare's plays. Like The Winter's Tale. Oh, everything is forgiven and everything's great now. Just sort of that contrived ending that rings hollow at the end.
Meanwhile, it's like, Hermione, run away. Continue being a statue. You'll be better off.
I was just thinking, can you think of if Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet or any of the other tragedies ended with, and then we gave them CPR and everybody was fine. Merry Christmas, everybody. And
what ho ho ho.
Well, and I don't know. So I think people should see this movie. I do think people are being too hard on it, and yet I'm still being hard on it.
I mean, this podcast is us being hard on the entire world,
right?
Depending on the topic of the week.
So given my feelings on this movie being better than, it's trying to be a better movie than what the Hallmark films have done and what the Netflix films have done, this sort of returns me to where I started when we started the show. What I said at the beginning about what I believe may be the greatest, not Christmas film, not film, but piece of literature.
Oh, Lord.
The finest art ever produced on this planet. Dolly Parton's Christmas in the Square.
Okay, Josh.
The moment has arrived.
Josh, you picked this one. So why don't you explain the plot to us?
Yes, please.
Because not everyone will have watched it, and it doesn't matter if you know the plot because it's a Christmas movie.
Not at all. This is not a film that can be contained simply with plot. So
I will say this about the plot of the movie.
It's messed up.
It's titled A Christmas on the Square. There's a great opening number explaining setting up the square. I feel like I'm watching a high school revival of our town. By the end of the movie, I'd forgotten what the title of the film was because the square never comes up again.
It didn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But loosely, the plot is a local woman has made her fortune somewhere, and she basically has bought out her hometown, and now she's cashing in and selling it to a developer to build a mall. And the town is coming together to fight her. There's a
pastor.
There's a pastor. There's a baby given up for adoption subplot. There's
no, not given up for adoption. Forcibly taken away as the girl cries and begs her father not to take her baby away.
There's a high school lovers reunited subplot. There's
a song where they talk about fertility treatments.
Yeah, the pastor's wife is talking about her fertility treatments.
And who is Dolly Parton?
Dolly Parton is an angel who is training an angel she's training another angel, but she also magically changes sizes and is put into a car cup holder at one point.
She wears a lot of rhinestones
A lot of runs.
Josh, I definitely thought you meant that like Dolly Parton is just an angel. And I thought to myself, yes, she is. Thank the Lord for Dolly Parton.
Have you not seen?
And now I'm up to
people in North
speed.
Carolina, Tennessee line would agree with that.
At one point, Josh and I thought that this was going to be a movie about like economics and like really speaking to COVID, and like kind of for like 10 seconds. But mostly it's a female version of A Christmas Carol, but the most messed up version you could ever imagine, because her evil origin story is her father, who's supposed to be a good guy, who's trying to keep the rents low and the spirits high, forcefully takes away her baby because her town's gonna judge her because she got pregnant out of wedlock. What the hell?
I love this movie. See, I think you're selling it short by just saying it's just A Christmas Carol. I mean, A Christmas Carol is a story. When was it written originally?
Like 1834, I want to say.
Okay, it's had a 190-year run. This film is going to be with us for millennia. People will be studying this. Like, I believe religions will be based around this film. This is the greatest movie I've ever
The Canterbury
seen.
Tales of our time.
Oh, sorry, I got it transposed. It's 1843, A Christmas Carol.
Okay. Oh, wow. See, not even 2 centuries. I mean, tawdry. It's just but a dalliance. Okay, so I knew a little bit because, again, as Hannah said, she texted me. So, Mary, Charlie, have you guys watched this or no?
No, but I know what we're watching this weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to. Okay, Hannah texts me and tells me the first thing was she told me Josh said we have to watch this. It's got Dolly Parton in it, and I'm like, okay, great. Then she says, okay, this is fucked up. But the first, and then it's like, there's a song in the beginning about fertility treatments in this Christmas movie. So now I'm in. I don't need to know anything else.
There is some very clever wordplay and lyrics. I mean, Dolly Parton is still a strong songwriter. This is it's such a mismatch of themes and
I want you to understand. Dolly Parton does she direct it?
No.
She wrote the songs, she does produce it. She's a producer on the film. She greenlights, produces, and stars in this film while personally curing COVID. Because remember, that's going on at the same time. She's funding the research that leads to the COVID vaccine because she's a delightful woman. So I really want to pick apart what's going on here because I'm watching this and there's the fertility subplot. So my first thought was in the opening number when they're just saying about the square that doesn't come back. It's very much like The Room. There's genius to this that we just have to understand. We have to peel back the layers of the onion. My first thought when they're there is Dolly Parton shows up and she's disguised as a beggar. They say she's homeless. She's the homeless woman in town, but she is the sexiest homeless woman you've ever seen because she's Dolly Parton, and Dolly Parton is not going to be a hobo without having impeccable makeup. So she's got perfect eyebrows, right? I'm like, oh, and she shows up. I didn't know she was supposed to be homeless until, the main character, the Scrooge character, looks at her and says, "Oh, there's homeless here now." And Dolly's like, "Yes, and there will be more of us." And I'm like, "You're supposed to be homeless?" Because I just thought you were a rich woman in a snazzy, gray hood. It's like she's got like suede. and perfect makeup.
And we haven't talked about the fact that Dolly Parton basically implies that she causes an accident of a little girl so that
killed her mother. Oh no, that one. Yeah. Oh yeah. Dolly Parton. Yes.
So Dolly Parton, to take the Tiny Tim character, if you will, who does not have a disability, but whose mother died because she got caught in a storm.
Not when it starts.
So the little girl, this makes no sense, probably anyone listening to this summary. The little girl goes into an accident. Dolly Parton's like, "See, fates have changed. This is part one of the plan." And Josh and I are like, God arranged for a little kid to get brain damage so Christine Baranski can fly in a surgeon and show her care. And then it's like the same Christmas thing. She sings a song about forgiveness in the church. And suddenly everyone who she's displaced is like, "We forgive you. It's fine. We understand that you were put through a tough situation." And it's,
well, your baby was stolen.
it's great that there's more human understanding in the world, but also she was evicting them and making their lives harder for a long time because she was Scrooge,
Yeah. See, this And this is why I'm loving this film, right? Because again, I'm not sure Dolly Parton is an angel named Angel. Or at least that's how she describes herself. She might be the god of this universe. Like she, in order to bring the town together, she causes a car wreck that critically injures a little girl and she almost dies. There is a delightful song where the father of the little girl sings to his, critical condition daughter, telling her it's okay to die and go be with mama. And I'm like, holy shit, what am I watching? This is amazing, right?
I forgot that happened.
So much in this movie happens. Like, it's like every Christmas trope, in fact, except for...
And that's what I think Dolly understands what's going on. Dolly said, I actually love these movies that we've been talking. Dolly has watched every Netflix movie. She's watched every Hallmark movie. She's watched every Lifetime movie. And then she said, I'm going to do them all in 96 minutes. I got 96 minutes to get them in, and really more like 76 minutes because I got to work in like 4 musical numbers. So she really I'm watching this. There's a point where, again, I want to make fun of it because I do that. Just making, they're silly, goofy movies. And there's the point where there's where a typical high school musical kind of scenario. In a flashback, we learn that the what's Christine Baranski's character's name?
Regina, because all mean people are named Regina, apparently. Like if you go to Mean Girls or Once Upon a Time or this movie, anyway. Okay,
so Regina, the main character, is she may or may not have a brain tumor. That's like a subplot in this film, and then she doesn't, so it's okay. But like there's a brain tumor subplot. So she's having an out of body experience while she's having her MRI and the brain tumor, and that's when we get to see her past when she was a teenage girl, defying her daddy's wishes and dating like a townie boy, and the dad's like, well, he's trouble, you should stay with him, but she doesn't anyway because they're in love. And then she sees the boy talking to another girl, and they've got a ring, and she thinks that the boy is like proposing to the other girl, but really he was just gonna give it to her. But anyway, she's devastated, and I'm watching this with my wife, and I said, and I go, wow, and she's like devastated because I've been left by this boy at the dance, and I'm like, so what's she gonna do now? Go and fuck a carny? And you know what she does in the next scene? She fucks a carny.
Not graphically, because this is a family movie. A family movie where Dolly Parton impregnates someone. Actually,
yes,
magic.
That was my next thing. Regina, like, and you're right. We don't see her have sex with the carny. We see her meet another boy, and then they smile at each other, and then the next scene is her on a exam table talking about how she's pregnant, and the boy left town and went on to the next town and the next girl, and I'm like, he was a carny.
Anyway, so this movie's a lot.
And then and then you're right, and then like later and then like a couple scenes later, so you find out, she's got a kid who she gave up for adoption, and then it's clearly either the preacher or the preacher's wife because there's only so many named characters in the film. So I'm like, okay, they're the right age. And then in the next scene, and I'm glad you interpret it the same way as I do, Hannah, because I'm pretty sure angel/God Dolly Parton, this is why I think she might be God, impregnates the preacher's wife.
Also, I think we should mention that none of these films that we've talked about up until now really talk about Christmas in the religious sense. Like Hallmark famously is like, Christmas is a secular feeling.
Time for families. It's a giving holiday.
And Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square is the most secular religious you could be in some ways, but also simultaneously weirdly religious. Like at one point the pastor's like, I want to tell you a sermon about a young girl who was pregnant. I was like, this is gonna be some Mary parallel, and it's about his mother. It's just weird, it's just strange, and I don't know what to do with this film except say it's really messed up. In fact, if people one critique people have about Happiest Season is it was genuinely upsetting for them to watch, either because of personal experiences or because, as you heard our reactions, it's in some places extremely upsetting to watch. But this movie, I was really, really freaked out by the father taking away the baby, even if. And then Dolly Parton is kind of
from the screaming
and
mother.
Dolly Parton's but he loved you and that's why he did it, so you should forgive him. And I'm like, what? What? So
And it's weird because, again, at this point, we're aware that Dolly is at least an angel and quite possibly God. Like, it's not, it is vague.
So it's like, is she critiquing God? Is she like reinforcing the patriarchy? Like, though I will tell you one movie that's not reinforcing the patriarchy.
Okay.
And it will give Josh his chance to shine. Because he loved it far more than I did. Disney Plus had a film last year that we finally watched this year, starring Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader, called Noel.
I haven't seen Noel yet. I'm looking forward to this one.
So Josh, what is Noel about?
So Noel is the story of the Kringles of the North Pole. The position of Santa is an inherited job passed down from father to son. And the current Kringle is played by Bill Hader. He has a rambunctious sister played by Anna Kendrick. Turns out she's far more competent than he is, so he decides to run off on vacation to Arizona
to do yoga. And Anna Kendrick is sent to go retrieve him to save Christmas. So she gets into a bunch of shenanigans down in Arizona. A lot of jokes about her winter wardrobe in Arizona. She teams up with a private investigator to track down her brother. Sparks fly. But not quite.
There's some sign language. It's a bunch of stuff going on. It's a fun little film.
That led to the most sentimental 5 minutes I think we saw all year.
Oh yeah, there's the sign language plot line really pays off in the end.
Anyway, the point of Noel is that women can be Santa too. So, like, if you're talking about films trying to break out of formula, but also not break out of formula, that's a pretty, good example.
Yeah.
And also, I guess this is the point where we just summarize everything else. If you're looking for trashy TV, it's like The Bachelor, plus Love is Blind, plus Too Hot to Handle. On HBO Max, it's called 12 Dates of Christmas, where 3 leads, which I think actually the first 2 episodes feature more diversity than the US Bachelor franchise has total. 3 leads try and figure out who they want to bring home for Christmas in a castle in Austria, because they can. Lots of strange comments by men, because men are weird on dating shows.
Lots of strange comments by women too.
But I'm on episode 2, and this guy had this thing about threesomes that I don't want to get into, but it was the grossest thing possible.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I've only seen the first one, which I watched, realized I was not going to like it 5 minutes in, and then kept watching for the next 40 minutes and finished it. And I think her name's Audrey, the 26-year-old. No,
Are you talking about
Angel?
Faith, Angel, Skylar?
Skylar. Yeah. No. I mean, there's a lot of people I don't like on this show, but Skylar has serious. And again, I'm 1 episode in. Skylar has serious problems. I thought we had something. You've known each other for 10 minutes. Stop it. Stop.
I mean, that is the entirety of the Bachelor franchise, though.
Yes, I understand that, which is why I don't watch that show. So if you don't enjoy The Bachelor, they've got 3 they've got a bachelor, a bachelorette, and a gay bachelor, and they're all doing the Bachelor thing at the same time with the goal of meet somebody, fall in love, and bring them home to your family on Christmas, which is 12 days from now.
Mary's face has just lit up like a Christmas tree.
I texted you about it. I texted her about it. I told her to watch it. I mean, I guess I texted her today, so you can't expect someone to. It's on HBO
Max. I don't know. I mean, it was hard. There was a lot.
It was a lot. Josh caught 5 minutes of it and was very confused.
So 12 dates. The 12 Dates of Christmas.
Yeah, which is also I believe, the title of a much ABC better family movie.
Yes, which I also watched today. I watched that to make myself feel better after watching this Bachelor thing. I had to watch the Amy Smart film 12 Dates of Christmas, which is Amy Smart starring as Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day, but on Christmas. That's the film.
And then
it's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot classier, to say the least, than some of the contestants on 12 Dates of Christmas. And then there was Holidate, the Netflix Emma Roberts film with Kristen Chenoweth, who was the best part.
I liked, and I wish. I was about to say, so we've resolved nothing, but I do want to talk about Holidate a little bit. Did anybody else watch Holidate besides me and Hannah?
We all did, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I liked Holidate. I liked Holidate a lot. I understand why people didn't like it. I liked Holiday a lot, and legitimately not in the I'm confused and reevaluating my entire life and career kind of way that the Dolly Parton movie made. This I thought was a fine romantic comedy. I get why people were put off by some of the jokes were gross. It was a rom-com full of people who aren't lovely. And what makes it work is because it is a perfectly normal, by the numbers, Julia Roberts rom-com starring her niece, Emma Roberts, who is very much the anti-Julia. And that's what made the film work for me. She's everything Julia is not.
I will say I didn't hate the film, but I will say I usually don't care. I'm also a co-host on this show, so I'm not precious about much, but I thought some of the cruder jokes were not funny, which if you're going to have a crude joke, it has to be funny.
The bathroom here. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily my thing. I'm not saying it's not it wasn't the best movie ever, but I got what they were going for. And I just traditionally, I don't like gross out humor. In fact, true fact about me, I have a very weak stomach. I don't deal very well with gross out humor. I have to look away sometimes. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily funny to me, but I got what they were going for. And I was just to me, what made it work was the meta awareness, because Emma Roberts is starring in it and she's basically saying to hell with all these romantic comedy movies that my literal aunt stars in, even though I'm in one right now. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Mary, Charlie, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, what I liked about that is sort of what I haven't liked about all the rest of these movies is you saw them grow. You saw them fall in love with each other or build a relationship with each other. And so I enjoyed that. I thought the Dr. Kristen Chenoweth subplot was mildly funny. I enjoyed it. It's been a while since we watched it, a month.
It's been a while. Yeah.
So it's a little hazy, but I'm sure I agree with the crude humor. I'm sure that's how I feel about almost anything that Will Ferrell is in, except for Elf, which may be the second best Christmas movie of all time.
Okay, I gotta ask, what is the first?
Christmas Vacation has to be.
No. Muppet's Christmas Carol. Anyway, not the point of this. Did anyone see Jingle Jangle besides me and Josh?
No, I didn't.
I'll simply say stacked cast. I didn't know that Forrest Whitaker could sing. Also, Anika Nani Rose is in it, and she is fantastic. And it's just very lively. And I think it got buried on Netflix. But if you're looking for a family film, literally about families, about a toy maker, and also some strange robots that float, this is your movie. And Mav, you watched the Christmas Chronicles 2.
Yes, I watched Christmas Chronicles 2 starring Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, Julian Dennison, and then some other people that you've never heard. Oh, some other people you've never heard of. And for 60 seconds total of screen time while he wasn't filming a Fast and Furious or Transformers movie, Tyrese. Tyrese gets to sing. Yeah, Tyrese sings Christmas carols. It's something. And it is, if you saw the Christmas Chronicles 1, it's more of that, but it's interesting because at the end of the first Christmas Chronicles movie, you find out that Mrs. Claus is Goldie Hawn. And since Kurt Russell plays Santa, that's kind of the joke, but she's in it for the last 10 seconds. She is a legitimate co-star in this film. And what's interesting about it is there's sort of two kids in the film, and they both, and Mr. Claus and Mrs. Claus, Santa and Mrs. Claus, she doesn't have a first name. They go off on separate adventures, each with one kid. So she's got a fair amount of screen time. And what makes the movie really, really work is that it is a ridiculously stupid plot. It's not a rom-com. It's an adventure story. It's ridiculously goofy and stupid. And everybody in the movie is sort of hoping this makes their career. I'm going to be discovered here, so I don't have to do stupid Christmas movies forever. Except for Julian Dennison, who, if you don't know who he was in Hunt for the Wilder People, and he was in Deadpool 2. But him, Goldie Hawn, and Kurt Russell have real careers, and they know what film they're in, and they have the times of their lives. Kurt Russell, like I believe that Kurt Russell, like when he's on screen, for any second he's on screen, I believe this is his favorite film ever that he's ever made. The man was in, everything from like being Snake Plissken all the way up to being Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe that this is him going, this has led me to this moment.
Okay, but do you think that he had a better time doing this film than he did doing Sky High?
Yes.
And yes. It looked like everyone was having a lot of fun.
And so Sky High, I think he's good in. He's funny in it. I think he wants Sky High to be a better movie than it is.
It's an amazing movie.
It's a fun movie.
It is Batman, 60s Batman for like the aughts kids.
I think Kurt Russell was trying to elevate Sky High. Kurt Russell is not trying to elevate the Christmas Chronicles fantasy. He knows what he's doing. He does not care. This is a movie about Santa Claus who's kind of a rock star, and we're just gonna have a musical number here. It's not a musical. It's not like the Dolly Parton movie. It's just that Santa, every once in a while, and this isn't the first one as well. Every once in a while, Santa just feels the need to rock, and so he's going to. And don't stop him. He's Kurt Russell, and like don't make Santa mad because Santa will throw down with you. And it's, but not in a bad way. It's not like bad Santa. This is it's you kind of go, I want to hang with Santa Claus, and that's what the films are about. So I say watch that one.
All right, so I guess
so now we've resolved nothing.
We've resolved nothing except, does any of our guests have any final thoughts before we close? Go ahead.
Well, I would just like, Josh, I'd just like to chime in. I think Rebecca Alter over at Vulture has written a great write-up of the Christmas movies this year. It's called Oh No, There Are 82 New Christmas Movies This Year. And she went all in and wrote summaries of most of these movies. They're fantastic. You should check it out at Vulture.
We'll link that in the show notes.
I'll send it to you. I'm personally looking forward to Christmas Chronicles 2 for the Russell Hahn team up. Looking forward to Operation Christmas Drop on Netflix. It's a rom-com. It's a rom-com about a humanitarian airlift. Lifetime's got a bunch of features. I'm looking forward to the Christmas Yule blog.
Oh Lord!
And fans of The Good Place may also like Christmas on Wheels. And then finally, the holiday stalwart Hallmark has the third entry of the Godwink franchise, Second Chance, First Love. It's also got Christmas in Vienna, The Christmas Carousel, one of two Christmas Carousel movies on different networks this year. And then finally, my personal favorite title, Jingle Bell Bride.
Yeah, so what you're saying is I've created a monster by getting you into this nonsense.
So there's just a lot to look forward to this season. I am very thankful.
All right, Charlie, Mary, you got anything?
I think we're both really looking forward to that Dolly Parton movie.
Definitely. And maybe even Noel.
Yeah, and maybe Jingle
I'm looking
Jangle.
forward to Noel. Yeah.
And maybe Jingle Bell Bride.
One person in this house, I won't say who, cried for a solid 10 minutes over Noel.
Oh, I thought it was going to be under Christmas at the Square.
No.
I mean, there's very real emotion in Christmas at the Square. In the scene, I was not prepared for the scene where a father, leans over his daughter who's in the hospital and sings a ballad telling her it's okay to die. And I'm like,
that may be the most moving scene in any film this year. Yeah.
And this guy goes for it. I mean, like, it's not like, again, these films are mostly composed of actors who can't get better roles. You'll have a Kurt Russell in there, but most of them are people who you've never seen or heard of before. This guy is like basically he leans over his unconscious daughter in the bed, major head wound, probably not going to make it. And I can see he's going for Emmy, Oscar, Tony, Grammy. Can I get them all? Can I EGOT on just this one performance?
The answer is no. That's not how qualifying works.
No, and yeah, but he tried. He did his best.
I don't even know how to close out this show after that, because I mean, the Christmas on the Square is a lot. That's all I have to say. I am having
Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
So is Dolly Parton.
Yeah, but like working 9 to 5, like you can get behind that message. I don't know if I can get behind Christmas on the Square's message because it's so.
We need more time. We just gotta. I'm telling you, like,
you know what, Matt? For the rest of our Christmas season, we have a reason to check in. We can check in for our listeners about how we feel about Christmas on the Square, and also probably end up annoying our co-hosts by doing so.
That's what they get for not showing up. But thank you for the three of you who did. Josh, anything to plug?
Just that one article.
Okay.
Like you don't even want to plug yourself.
That's what I'm going to be doing for the next solid month. Is just working my way through those movies.
82 films. I've watched for this show. I watched like 10 in the last week. So, Mary.
Yeah, if anybody out there's looking for Christmas gifts, you guys should check out Kentuck Art Center, www.kentuck.org/shop. You'll be Alabama nonprofit and artists.
And I can attest to that they have some very beautiful glass blown ornaments. One is literally hanging on my tree that we decorated as we recorded this show.
And Charlie.
I got nothing. I was going to plug the Hudson Stroud program in Renaissance Studies at the University of Alabama, but the deadline to apply is tomorrow, and I doubt this gets put out tomorrow.
No.
But if you're looking for the next cycle, apply. Come to the University of Alabama.
Palindrome Hannah, where can people find you?
I mean, you can technically find me on Twitter at Haley Rogers, but honestly, you won't hear much from me. You can find the show where I've been posting blogs on voppodcast.com where you can leave comments.
Oh,
also,
okay,
you can donate to your local food bank because it's Christmas.
It's Christmas, and yes, we will leave the food bank links to feedingamerica.org in the show notes as well. And now you've thrown me off because you've plugged the website, and that's like in the middle of my plugs. And
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just trying to get in.
No, it's good. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of the places at Chris Maverick. You can follow the show on all of social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, always at Vox Popcast, and follow the show's YouTube channel. This should be a really, really interesting YouTube show this week because there's
Christmas on the Square.
Yeah, for Christmas on the Square alone, the images that I'm going to have to show, it's going to be interesting. But, if you follow our YouTube channel, you can listen to the show and see examples of what we're talking about as we talk about them. We usually put up clips and things like that. It's going to be very, very bizarre. Also, if you enjoy the show, we certainly hope you do, then subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or wherever the hell else you get podcasts from. And do us a favor, leave us a 5-star review, especially on Apple Podcasts. If you leave a review, not just a rating, but a review, that gooses the algorithm, helps other people find the show, makes us happy. A bell rings, an angel gets its wings, all of the Christmas stuff. Now, that's scientifically proven. Don't even look it up. Just trust me. That all happens. Leave us a review. Leave us a review talking about how, this podcast changed your life because it introduced you to Christmas at the Square. Oh, God. And eugenics bad.
Oh, man.
Odd Little Marxist show. I'm getting loopy. It's late. I would like to thank Maximilian of Thoughtform Music for our epic theme song, building ever so more epically and playing us out. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us. I'd like to thank you at home for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
That's it. I am through. I'm done with this.
Where do you think you're going? And don't lie, you know I can read your mind.